Hey, welcome. Today, we are diving into a skill that honestly separates the good project managers from the truly great ones, monitoring risks. Because let's face it, knowing how to steer your project through that fog of uncertainty, well, it's not just a nice to have. It's what actually gets you to your destination in one piece. And to really get our heads around this, we're going to lean on this fantastic metaphor. Just picture it. Your project is a ship on a big voyage. And you're the captain. The destination is your goal. But the sea, well, the sea is always unpredictable. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's all about that constant vigilance needed to navigate safely.
All right, so first up, let's talk about the core challenge itself, navigating the choppy, unpredictable waters of any project.
No project plan, I don't care how detailed it is, can possibly account for everything. You're always sailing into the unknown, right? And as the captain, your job isn't to just grip the wheel and hope for clear skies. Nope, it's to be constantly scanning that horizon, looking for those dark clouds, the threats, but also keeping an eye out for those favorable winds, the opportunities that could get you to port even faster.
So that brings us right to the captain's main job. This isn't some task you do once and then check off a list. We're talking about a continuous, vigilant watch that you have to maintain for the entire journey. What I love about this is how it breaks down a formal process into the real day-to-day duties of our captain. First off, you're tracking the storms you already know about. Then, you're making sure those evasive maneuvers you planned are actually, working. You're also always scanning for new weather patterns on the horizon. And if you spot one, you got to chart a new course. But here's the kicker. You also have to step back and check your navigation itself. Is your whole process even working? And finally, and this is so important, you can't do it all alone. You have to assign watch duty. Make sure someone is always responsible for keeping an eye on a specific part of the sky.
But how does a captain keep that watch effectively? Well, a good captain doesn't just squint at the horizon. They have a whole suite of sophisticated instruments to help them understand exactly where they are and what's happening around them.
So, the first tool in the toolkit is technical performance analysis. This is basically the captain looking at the charts and asking, are we where we're supposed to be right now? Think about it. If you're building an app, are the features you planned for this stage actually done? Are they working like they should? You're checking to see if the technical work is on track. Any deviation here could be the very first sign of a storm brewing.
Okay, next up we have reserve analysis. This is like going down into the hold and taking inventory of the ship's most critical supplies, your contingency reserves of time and money. Do you have enough rations and fuel to get through an unexpected squall or a long delay? As you get further into your voyage and the weather starts to clear, you might find you have a surplus, or you might realize you need to stock up fast.
But wait a second, this brings up a really good question. It's one thing to trust your instruments, but what if they're not calibrated right? What if your whole system for reading the weather is just off? How do you even check the process itself?
And the answer is right here. You run a risk audit. Think of this as the captain bringing in a specialist to inspect all the navigational equipment on the bridge. This isn't an assessment of one single risk. It's a deep dive into your entire process for managing risk. Are you good at spotting risks? Are your responses making sense? It's a much-needed reality check.
And of course, you can't navigate a ship from an office. Meetings are where the captain and the crew get together on the bridge. This is where you talk about those storms on the horizon, point out any new weather systems you've spotted, and, really importantly, confirm if those evasive actions are actually doing what you hoped they would.
Okay, so you've done all this watching, all this analyzing, now what? Well, it all leads to a crucial final step. You have to update the ship's official records. Keeping a detailed, accurate log is absolutely vital. And what you see here is that this is a continuous loop. It's a cycle. You start with the information you have, your inputs, like that risk register. Use your tools, like data analysis and audits, to make sense of everything. And that process creates outputs, like an updated register or maybe a formal change request, which then become the new inputs for the next cycle. It's a constant process of learning and adapting.
Now, it is so important to understand the difference between these two key logs. The risk register, that's your map of the future. It's where you chart all the potential storms you might run into out on the horizon. The issue log, on the other hand, is a record of the past. It documents the storms you've already sailed through, what happened, and how you dealt with it. So one is about what might happen, and the other is about what has happened.
So, what happens when you realize that a storm is just unavoidable, or maybe a brand new, better route has opened up? You can't just casually turn the wheel. A change request is the captain's formal order to alter the ship's official voyage plan. It makes it official and ensures the entire crew knows the new heading.
As we get closer to our destination, there's one last critical point to make about this whole thing. The watch. It never, ever ends.
See, risk monitoring isn't a phase of your project. It's a constant state of being. It's this non-stop vigilance, this loop of watching, analyzing, and updating that makes a project truly resilient. It's what lets your ship take the hit from a sudden storm, adapt its course, and ultimately arrive safely and successfully at its destination.
So I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about for your own work. Your project is out there, right now, on the open sea, navigating all kinds of uncertainty. So, who, specifically, is on the watch? If you can't answer that in a heartbeat, now you know what you need to do. Thanks for joining me.